I want to bring up the first member of our broadcast team. He is the best boxing analyst in the sport. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Kellerman.
All right, so I know you guys are excited about this fight, but I don't think you understand what a big deal it is. This is a perfect storm, a perfect storm.
The largest battle in a generation is about to break out. Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. Two kings, pound for pound. Finally, two undefeated champions square off in the ring. However, who is pulling the strings from the outside of the ropes, rather than who is struggling inside them, is the most startling aspect of this tale. Dana White, the president of the UFC, is that man. Furthermore, this is more than just a super fight. This marks the beginning of his public campaign to take over the boxing world. It was long thought to be a fantasy for Saul Canelo Alvarez to face Terence "Bud" Crawford. Fans talk about this pipe dream, but insiders never take it seriously. As the four-division champion and unquestioned monarch at 168 pounds, Canelo is the sport's face. He is a counterpuncher with concussive power in both hands and a destructive force of nature. Crawford, meanwhile, is an expert in a distinct field. He is a technical magician, a defensive ghost, and an unbeaten, unchallenged champion in two weight classes who destroys opponents with surgical accuracy. However, he weighs 147 pounds. It was considered difficult, if not foolhardy, for him to leap up 3 complete weight classes and a whopping 21 pounds to take on a giant like Canelo. Battles such as these are exactly where the boxing mechanism isn't working. Competing promoters, tense network agreements, and the straightforward reasoning behind weight divisions kill them. However, all of those outdated guidelines were simply disregarded. The existence of this impossible fight is the first indication that a significant and violent change in power is taking place in the combat sports industry, and the real creator of this new period would be exposed by what transpired next.
I've been a big fan of boxing since I was a kid. I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for boxing. For this to be the first boxing match that I'm involved in promoting is an absolute honor. Two of the greatest of all time and one of the biggest fights ever in the history of the sport. So, very, very proud moment for me, and I've done a lot of things in my career.
Where the boxing mechanism isn't working, competing promoters, tense network agreements, and the straightforward reasoning behind weight divisions kill them. However, all of those outdated guidelines were simply disregarded. The existence of this impossible fight is the first indication that a significant and violent change in power is taking place in the combat sports industry, and the real creator of this new period would be exposed by what transpired next are not participating in tune-up fights or avoiding dangerous opponents. You either move on or demonstrate that you are the most malevolent person on the planet. His involvement in Canelo versus Crawford is not a friendly transition. It's the methodical entry of his profitable technique into unfriendly territory. He saw an enormous opportunity to seize control, an angry fan base, and a broken system.
So you said for years famously, when you were building the UFC, you used boxing as like a negative blueprint. Whatever boxing
and positive. And positive.
Okay.
Things that they did were good, I would use, and things that I didn't like, I did away with.
What has the experience now in the UFC, what from there can you bring to boxing?
I like when the night moves fast. Like right now, when you watch a boxing event, they'll have one fight, then there's a podcast.
Right.
Then there's another fight and there's a podcast, and the night gets dragged out. I mean, it's bad enough for the people at home watching on TV. The people that are live, it has to be insane. I mean, I haven't been to a fight in years. The last fight that I went to was at MGM, and it was Tyson Fury and Wilder. It was the worst experience that I've ever had at any event.
And that was a great fight.
Yeah, great fight. And I've been to small shitty shows that were way better run than that one was. So
what was so bad?
The night, it just completely disorganized, not enough security, couldn't even get in. The people were sitting on my seats when I got to my seats, and there was nobody there to say, hey, this isn't your seat. Just everything about the night was horrendous. The best to fight the best. The undercard, you should want to be there for the first fight of the night, because that's going to be a fight that you know is going to be good and means something. You have a 6-0 versus a 5-0, or a 10-0 versus a 12-0, all the way throughout the card. So you don't want to miss one fight during the night because they're all great. And then obviously the big payoff is the main event.
One man is not carrying out this takeover by himself. With the support of a strong new alliance, this full-scale invasion has the potential to completely transform combat sports. Three forces drive the operation. The first is Dana White's promotional machine, which is part of the TKO group and incorporates the UFC's aggressive fan-focused marketing and event production. The second is the nearly infinite financial might of Saudi Arabia's Riyadh season, which is led by His Excellency Turki Alalski. This removes the money-related arguments that have ruined so many battles in the past by giving the money to make fighters offers they just cannot turn down. Thirdly, you possess the unparalleled worldwide Netflix platform. A fight of this size won't be concealed behind an expensive pay-per-view wall for the first time. More than 300 million subscribers globally will be able to watch it instantly for free. White has a clear vision. Create a new boxing league modeled after the UFC using this platform. Similar to his Contender Series, he hopes to establish a pipeline for up-and-coming talent in order to develop the next wave of celebrities from the bottom up and guarantee a steady stream of events that are not to be missed. This isn't a promotion for a single super fight. The goal is to establish a whole new boxing ecology under his authority.
First of all, Turki Al-Sheikh, we're lucky he happens to be a boxing fan. None of this happens if he doesn't happen to be a boxing fan. It's just none of us are here. Nick Khan, the best in the business. Dana White. Dana White is the greatest combat sports promoter of my lifetime. And it's his first ever boxing promotion. So that's who's behind what you're going to see.
We look to Max Kellerman, one of the most renowned boxing minds, who has now teamed up with Dana White for this event, to comprehend the pure drama of what will transpire in the ring. The fight is dissected by Kellerman as a classic. According to him, it's a conflict between a genius and a wrecking ball. Terence Crawford, who Kellerman claims has the edge in almost every technical area, is in one corner. He is more intelligent in the ring, has a better jab, better footwork, and a brilliant defense. He is the surgeon who can change his strategy in the middle of a battle and take advantage of even the smallest gaps. However, there are stands in the opposite corner. Canelo Alvarez has enormous, indisputable physical advantages and is one of the great equalizers. In terms of raw stature, athletic prowess, and devastating hitting power, Kellerman gives Canelo the advantage. Canelo has also walked through blows from some of the biggest hitters in the sport, giving him a famous chin. Kellerman likens the situation to the renowned bout between Roberto Duran and Marvin Hagler, in which a smaller, incredibly talented expert advanced to take on a larger, more determined champion. For both men, the duel presents an almost intractable riddle, and the result is among the most uncertain in recent memory.
I feel like we're starting from scratch now.
In boxing, really?
Yes, there's a handful of guys right now that matter and that people care about. There has to be a pipeline of young up-and-coming guys. And when you think about the late 80s and early 90s, there were so many good fighters. Yeah. And again, I go back to the Tuesday night fights. A lot of those guys ended up becoming pay-per-view stars of the 90s. And yeah, I believe we can do that again. And you get these young guys. There's always this talk that there's such huge pay discrepancy between boxing and MMA, which is total bullshit. You know, we have guys that would be considered journeymen in the UFC that make millions of dollars, right? The money's just spread out amongst the fighters better. And then you have the guys that really matter, like the Conor McGregors, the Ronda Rouseys. Even a woman came in and was the highest paid fighter at the time. You eat what you kill, you know, here in the UFC. So, you know, I think that this thing's gonna create a lot of opportunities for young up-and-coming guys that would be making a couple grand for a title fight, some obscure title fight. And with simpler weight classes, you'll actually know some of these champions now and know who they are.
This incident is already having an impact on the whole sports industry, not just the boxing community. Just the financial figures are astounding. Dana White announced weeks prior to the fight night that Canelo vs. Crawford had already produced the third largest live gate in boxing history, only eclipsed by the Mayweather vs. Pacquiao and Mayweather vs. McGregor cultural phenomenon. According to rumors, the fighter purses are enormous, and White hinted that Canelo alone might fetch up to $100 million. Money like this transforms everything, generating strong motivation for more elite fighters to join this new endeavor and leave their established promoters. The delivery technique, however, is the most disruptive. White and his partners are betting that the fight's enormous worldwide viewership will be worth more in the long run than the pay-per-view earnings in the short term by streaming it on Netflix. According to Max Kellerman, this move might make it the most viewed championship bout since the 1978 Ali vs. Spinks rematch, which was televised on free network television. They're selling more than just a brawl. They are attempting to win over a new generation of admirers from throughout the world. A move that might end the pay-per-view business model as we know it forever.
Who's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world? The most recent one. Bud Crawford. Apologies to the monster and Usyk. Bud Crawford has my vote for best pound-for-pound. Who was the best pound-for-pound before Bud? Canelo Alvarez, universally recognized that way. But it's not just these two guys, the last two best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. There haven't been that many. Before Canelo, who do you have? Before Canelo, Floyd or Andre Ward, Floyd Mayweather. Before, you could take the lineage back. There have only been, 25 or 30 fighters who ever lived who you said that's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. These are two of them, the last two. And they're gonna fight in Las Vegas on September 13th. Canelo is 62-2 with 2 draws, 62-2. So was Marvin Hagler when Sugar Ray Leonard moved up to fight him and they produced one of the biggest spectacles in the history of boxing. This fight is a perfect storm. I could not be more excited to be a part of it.
The group that came together to call the action is the best representation of the start of this new age. This boxing telecast isn't like the others. The UFC's main voice, John Anik, will conduct the play-by-play. His appearance is a blatant indication of the UFC's impact, and his fierce rapid-fire style is synonymous with mixed martial arts. Max Kellerman, the articulate boxing purist who embodies the sport's narrative tradition and depth of analysis, will be with him. Andre Ward, an undefeated Hall of Fame fighter and one of the sport's most creative tactical thinkers, rounds out the trio. This group is a purposeful combination of two separate worlds. The broadcast is designed to appeal to both traditional boxing fans and die-hard UFC fans. It's a declaration. The previous barriers separating these combat sports are being dismantled. The purpose of this event is to create a completely unique experience. A hybrid that combines the greatest aspects of both cultures to produce an exceptional end result. It is evident that there is much more at stake than championship belts and perfect records as this historic night draws near. A far more significant issue now has Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford's battle as its backdrop. The struggle for boxing's essence. For many years, the sport has been beset by problems, making fans long for the heyday. A strong and disruptive force has now sprung up, promising to use a tried-and-true, albeit brutal, method to cure everything. Dana White's business endeavor is a risky one. If he is successful, boxing may enter a new era of greatness that will feature regular super fights, new international celebrities, and unheard-of fan access. But it could further splinter an already fragile sport if his approach is rejected or if the event does not live up to the enormous hype. The globe will rejoice when the real pound-for-pound king is crowned when the last bell sounds. However, the true query is, will we also be seeing the last chapter of boxing in its current form? And the triumphant takeover of a whole sport? That concludes today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the bell button, subscribe, and leave a like so you don't miss any of our next videos. Additionally, remember to leave a comment with your ideas. We hope to see you in the upcoming video, so stay tuned.
Leading up to this fight, we've done tons of promotion. My first fight ever, I've been talking about boxing for a long time, is Canelo Crawford. I mean, one of the biggest fights ever. Literally is one of the biggest fights ever. It's the third biggest, gate in the history of boxing, and it's the biggest gate ever in a stadium. Yeah, we're the biggest event ever at Allegiant Stadium. We broke all their records. And you know whose record we broke? Ours, WWE. So WWE had number one, and we just broke WWE's record. These two are going to get paid.
Well, I am, because it's not on record. What's the base purse for Canelo?
Well, imagine what it would take to get Canelo to fight Crawford and have a guy move up weight classes when he's undefeated.
I've heard 100 million.
Probably.
But no one in